This white paper podcast is brought to you by DIA and LARVOL. Since 2004, LARVOL has been providing comprehensive competitive intelligence, analysis, and software solutions for the most prominent pharmaceutical companies in the world. LARVOL accelerates decision-making by providing real-time, customized, competitive intelligence solutions with data-driven analytics to the pharmaceutical, biotech, and healthcare industries. Accuracy in precision medicine largely depends upon correctly identifying and knowing your target. As science continues to explore precision medicine, predictive biomarkers, intrinsic biological characteristics used to identify individuals who are more likely than similar individuals without that biomarker to favorably respond to a product or therapy will help illuminate the path that will move precision medicine forward. Artificial intelligence and related technologies promise to be a large part of this landscape. I am Chris M. Slowecki, Senior Digital Copy Editor for DIA, and it's my pleasure today to welcome two experts in this exciting and dynamic field. Sabrina Bellisario, who serves as Director of Operations for LARVOL and is responsible for overseeing daily operations for the very biomarker group and for leading the LARVOL View Oncology social listening team. Welcome. Thank you for joining us, Sabrina.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks for having me.
And Mark Gramling, who serves as Director of Oncology and is responsible for strategy, software development, text mining, natural language processing, data management, and curation for LARVOL. Mark, thank you very much for joining us today and welcome.
Thank you, Chris. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's great to be here with you both today. So Sabrina, if we could start with you. What new solutions are you bringing into the pharmaceutical space, and what groups could benefit from these solutions?
Our team at LARVOL, what we specialize in is providing targeted data solutions to the pharma and biotech industry using a combination of technology and our expert team of analysts. Within the last year, we've become increasingly focused in oncology data specifically and in providing new solutions that meet the various needs within that space. The first among those solutions is LARVOL Very. Very is a database that provides information on predictive biomarkers and drug response in oncology. The goal for us here was to create a detailed real-time platform that could provide reliable insights on biomarkers and biomarker activity. It's used primarily to stay up to date on cancer biomarkers and to understand the extent to which they're predictive of drug response, which we call associations. Beyond that, we provide interactive visuals and analytics, and we capture any recent mention of biomarker activity from the news, from clinical trials, and from social media. Aside from covering all of this data in an online platform, we provide real-time email alerts and customized weekly reports. The solution is geared, I would say, towards competitive intelligence teams within the life sciences and pharma industry, primarily, but there are other groups that could certainly benefit as well, whether it be for research or for academic purposes.
Does this solution provide information on clinical diagnostics and how they relate to the data that you're pooling and analyzing?
That's a good question. Given the relationship between companion diagnostics and biomarkers, we've expanded our data set to include coverage of over 200 clinical diagnostic tests, including companion diagnostics and other commercialized LDTs. So anytime we pull an association, we'll show the user when a specific test has been identified within the supporting evidence. We'll extract companion diagnostics in labels, in late trials, and we'll extract branded diagnostics and LDTs used in studies. We'll also manually curate news that mentions diagnostic tests from publications, conferences, press releases, also regulatory announcements and financial news, so mergers, acquisitions. We'll also cover other interesting pieces of news that also feed into the clinical diagnostic space. So that might include articles on minimal residual disease, circulating tumor DNA, and liquid biopsies. And we'll also capture any discussions or mentions of clinical diagnostics from social media with a focus on Twitter primarily.
Thank you for those responses. And Mark, thank you for your patience. Mark, if we could turn to you for the next couple of questions. There is a wide range of biomarker and precision medicine data, almost too much. What type or area of data is the main focus of your group? Is it preclinical data? Is it clinical data? Is it patient level data? Is it aggregated data? What level of data does your group focus on?
Thank you, Chris. So we cover a real wide range of data, but the emphasis is that data is all from public sources. What the technologies of LARVOL are built around is pulling together a wide range of public sources. And this approach has its benefits and limitations in terms of the breadth versus the depth of the data. We cover a broad range of source material. To put some more detail on it, we aim to pull it all together to the level of AMP-CAP guidelines as well. So whether it ranges from the lowest level of evidence according to the AMP-CAP guidelines of preclinical, ranging all to the way to the highest level of evidence, a regulatory approval, we look to pull that into our software. So at the highest level, we're looking for approvals and labels from the FDA, EMA, and other jurisdictions, or even NICE recommendations. But we also look to code at the level of professional recommendations such as NCCN, ESMO, and other professional guidelines. From there, we keep drilling down into publications, and we cover a very large volume of conference abstracts. Being in the competitive intelligence space, one of our real points of emphasis is being the fastest to review and condense and database and deliver to our customers all the latest from the major cancer conferences. And further, we cover additionally anything from early phase trials to late phase trial data releases. So finally, our newest endeavor is to pull in the preclinical. So that's really been a recent point of emphasis. And it's a very different and much more varied type of outcomes data. So it's moving away from your survival outcomes, drug responses at the patient level or population level. Now we're pulling all the way down to assays from apoptosis and cell death and cell growth. So finally, to maybe take a step back, I neglected to mention, we do also cover patient data that's public at the level of case studies. It was a rather long answer to your question that's the sort of universe that we look to pull in together with Very to keep our customers abreast of all the latest developments in predictive biomarkers and clinical diagnostics. So I guess that would be my answer, Chris.
Mark, that was a complicated response because it's a complicated subject and a complicated field. The depth and the breadth that you're discussing is remarkable. Obviously, technology is a huge part of this conversation and many related conversations. Are you utilizing any new technologies to expand beyond your current analysis? For example, to pull these solutions closer to the clinical space?
Thanks for that question, Chris. It's really a strategic directive that we're aggressively exploring. So Very is really the sort of structural foundation upon which we're building a number of different solutions. So we're trying to leverage that foundation, that backbone of Very, as a tool and to bring it in a number of distinct areas, both inclusive of the clinical space and also other audiences. Previously, Sabrina mentioned research and academic is in and amongst that. So the first sort of endeavor that we're looking to bring it closer to clinical space and as a tool for physicians is coding further to the level of a patient profile to where we can pull from our database the applicable drug matching the patient profile. So this has applications both in the clinical space as well as even patient level facing. There's a real need out there for patients to have resources about pulling in all these complexities of data and what does it mean for their treatment. As I think Sabrina mentioned earlier, we're also sort of implying both brute force and technology to bring in KOL and sentiment analysis from social media. So what we're trying to do there is take all the particular points of evidence, especially focused around high impact trials, and track the conversation and the sentiment for social media as it relates to key opinion leaders. To keep going, we're actually drilling down on a very physician-facing technology, just looking at the immune oncology space, and especially Pembro, such a big player in the field. So we're actually looking to build again upon our very data to create an outcomes data predictive model for Pembro intervention based on patient profile. And two more actual technologies I wanted to mention. One is we're actually reconfiguring our database so that rather than searching by biomarker drug in cancer, we wanted to create an opportunity where a user, especially in pharma, can go to all of the data associated with a particular high impact trial. So it's sort of like a Google Images, if you will, of the trial space in a variety of cancers, where they can dive in, find a trial, and have pulled from all the variety of sources the data releases, the adverse events profiles, and tracking the course of the trial. And finally, our newest and I think most exciting and aggressive endeavor is to apply AI, artificial intelligence, and algorithmic approaches to actually predict new areas of research for particular biomarkers, drugs, and tumors. In other words, taking the data we have of all the predictive biomarker responses and using tools such as TensorFlow to actually predict what may be fruitful future areas of study for predictive biomarkers. So we are pursuing a number of different strategies to take the very platform and bring it closer to both the clinical space as well as even other endeavors that may be patient-facing or for academic and research purposes.
Mark, thank you very much for those detailed responses. Sabrina, may I offer you the chance to say something in closing?
Just wanted to thank you again for inviting me here today. It was really fun.
Thank you very much. Mark, thank you very much for your responses today as well.
Thank you, Chris. Again, it was a pleasure to be here.
Thank you for your time today. For DIA, I am Chris M. Slowacki.